times.
You've praised the Taliban in the past. Would you do so again tonight?
The world is not black and white. The world is gray. It's very difficult to sit and make black and white assumptions about anything, to sit and say that the Taliban are completely and utterly evil and we're completely and utterly good, as you just discussed with the moral high ground. I believe that the Taliban bring law and order. It may not be the law and order we like, but it's a form of law and order, and humans usually gravitate
What about
towards...
I have people from Russia who are criticizing Taliban openly now, in the same time that Russia is doing what it's doing in Ukraine. No shame at all for some people.
Only tonight they have banned any women from going to university.
Fantastic. Let's get the feminists to go and teach them a lesson. The feminists are so tough, and they stand up and say they can do anything a man can do. Let's arm them up and send them to Afghanistan. I'm sure they'll fix it.
Yeah, but it's not. It's a serious matter, isn't it? That women don't get the education they deserve.
And that's a very serious answer. If women are just as capable as men in terms of combat, like feminists pretend they are, then they can go over there and they can deal with the Taliban.
A lot of women do go to combat.
Exactly. So they can go deal with the Taliban. It's nothing to do with me. They can stand up and fight for their own rights.
Surely you wouldn't defend the Taliban banning women from university.
It's saying it's nothing to do with me, Piers. It's absolutely nothing to do with me.
What about the Afghan women?
It's nothing to do with me on any level.
You don't have a view?
I have a view. My view is that people naturally gravitate towards law and order, and if you didn't have the Taliban, you'd have different warlords operating in lawlessness, and there would be no way to prevent your store or your market stall getting completely robbed by someone with an AK-47, and people are going to gravitate towards a form of law and order. America left. They left a power vacuum, and the power vacuum is now full.
Well, I don't disagree with that.
And who put Taliban, first of all? What created Taliban, other than the US? The elephant in the room, we need to address it.
Okay, well,
but I do think the banning of women from university in Afghanistan is utterly horrific.
And I think the feminists are going to arm themselves. They're going to show us that they can do it.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. Of course, women have the right for education. Like what? You're a Muslim, you know that. There's no. Why is he trying to avoid answering this question? Like if Taliban does something bad, we condemn Taliban. Anyone, me too, if I do something bad, I want someone to step up and scold me and tell me, hey, you're doing something wrong, you know? There's nothing wrong with that. Put women back in education and schools. And also, if Taliban does something good, we come out publicly and we say, yes, Taliban is doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Anything a man can do, they're going to go over there to combat and they're going to teach Taliban a lesson.
Why can't you just say on that, you know what, it's completely
Weak
wrong?
argument.
Because it's not my point. I don't understand.
But it makes me think, it'll make your critics think that you don't think it's wrong.
They could ban all men. They could ban all short people.
But they're not. They're only banning women.
Correct. They could ban all short people. They could ban all people with long hair. And none of it's anything to do with me. So they can do whatever they want. I'm not going to go to war with the Taliban.
But you've just literally spent an impassioned first segment comparing the way, for example, Dubai handles law and order to this country.
Correct.
So you do express views about different laws.
Absolutely. Both places.
So when I put to you a law that basically bans women from being educated, it's not. Why is it a problem for you to say, you know what, it's wrong?
They're both places I've resided in, Dubai and London, so I have personal experience. I can give my personal opinion, but like I said, it has absolutely nothing to do with me with what the Taliban decide to do inside of Afghanistan. And if they decide that's the most prudent way to run their society, then we have two choices. We can either go over there and start another war that we shouldn't be involved in and waste a bunch of life, or we can sit and say it's up to them. They should govern themselves. They're people. We're no better than them. And they've decided to live their lives a particular way, and that's how they're going to live it. Like I said, if feminists are very upset and they're very disgusted by the fact that in Afghanistan, women cannot go to school, I've been told repeatedly by feminists that they're just as capable as men in all realms, and I expect them to arm themselves and fly over to Afghanistan and fix it.
Like a lot of women have done in combat.
Good. Congratulations. Go fight.
No, I don't.
Well, this is the thing that's very interesting. Because when you talk about ideas, it's not even just about Afghanistan and feminism. When you talk about ideas, they must all be defended at some point. There has to come down to violence. The world is backed by violence. Nobody wants to talk about this. It doesn't matter what it is. If you have a disagreement between two parties, eventually, if the disagreement continues, it ends up in violence. Feminism is defended by men. Men stand up and defend feminism, not feminists themselves, because they're incapable of violence. And we're in a situation now where you're saying that we should send men to go and fight for feminism. Why? Yeah. It's not a man's problem.
No, I think I'm saying
feminists believe.
I think men can be feminists too, because if feminism believes in
but you can go defend women's rights for education and not back it up by feminists. You know, Taliban, may Allah guide them to really take it easy and chill. What do feminists have to do with women's rights? This is the thing. feminism is way off when it comes to women rights, especially the modern feminism, the second wave feminism. It's way off.
Equality for women,
It's not
I'll
about
sign up to
equality,
it.
but
I don't agree with radical feminists who hate men. Right? To me, the radical anything to me is a bad thing.
Yeah, and I think most feminism in the West currently is radical.
Well, some of it is, no
Yeah.
question.
Absolutely. But this is my point. My point is that the Taliban are going to do whatever the Taliban decide to do. If I'm going to fly over to another country, I will respect their laws and customs. It's not my job to come along and tell other people how to live. I don't believe I have a moral high ground in that degree. And if people are genuinely upset and disgusted by it, the bottom line in most disagreements on the earth is violence. People who feel like they should go and fix it, then fix it with violence, then it can be the feminists who feel so outraged by it. But it's funny, they don't comment on these subjects, feminists. They seem to instead attack the Western male for some reason.
You deleted a video in which you praised ISIS. Why?
I don't know which video you're talking about in particular. It might have been a video from a long time ago. But in general, I understand that, like I said, the world is not black and white. The world is gray areas. And Western imperialism as a whole has been causing more problems than it's ever fixed, and it's disgusting. And I don't know the exact video you're referencing, but sometimes when an underdog destroys a Western imperialist, I have a degree of...
He's looking for a word.
I wouldn't say satisfaction, but every...
Satisfaction?
No, but there's certainly a degree of...
The way ISIS...
I don't know the particular.
conducted themselves.
I don't know about the particular video we're talking
Well,
about.
ISIS were one of the most deadly terror groups in the world.
Absolutely.
They committed a series of appalling atrocities,
Sure.
killing innocent people left, right, and
Completely.
centre.
Yeah.
How could you possibly have satisfaction?
Well, if it's the video I'm recollecting, if it's the video we're talking about, it's about the fact that I believed ISIS was funded by the West and created by the West in the first place. And it wasn't a degree of satisfaction like I'm happy ISIS exists. It was a commentary on the world.
Well, here's what you said. ISIS are the real Muslims because ISIS do exactly what the book says. Kill everyone who's not a Muslim and chop people's heads off and set them on fire and be raging lunatics. But all the other Muslims go, they're not real
What the
Muslims
hell,
because I
man?
read the book and ignore those parts. Well, then you're not an effing Muslim because you're ignoring the effing book.
That's an interesting point you've just raised. Because
Well, I never heard about that before or didn't even watch that video. Is it, he's trying to make the Muslim community turn back on him or something?
I'm now Islamic. And it's funny because I used to be an atheist. And when you're an atheist, you believe that religion causes more problems than it fixes. And then you come to a realization and you start to learn the truth of yourself and the truth of God. And you realize that religion is actually the cure for most of the problems in the world. And godlessness is the problem in the world. So that is something I will apologize for and admit I was wrong about because I was atheistic. And now as a Muslim, I understand that's absolutely not the case. If that's...
Well, he got scared. He got him scared. You can tell. Apologized immediately.
particular video you're talking about, then there's...
Well, that's really interesting. So you regret saying that?
Yeah, because you learn and you grow and you evolve, as I said. At the time, I believed it because I didn't believe in God at the time. It was a very long time ago. It's actually kind of a testament to you, Piers. You managed to find the oldest possible videos of me that have ever existed. But at the time, I was atheistic.
Well, no, I was curious because you have recently converted to Islam.
Correct.
So these questions, I think, are pertinent to your conversion.
Absolutely.
As to what you actually believe as a practicing Muslim now.
Yeah, I believe that Islam is beautiful. I believe it's the last true religion on earth. It's certainly the last respected religion on earth. And I felt differently inside since I've converted. And I think it has the solutions to a lot of the problems we're facing in the world today.
Yeah.
That particular video was once again satirical. A lot of people watching this would not have seen it. They would not have seen the joke element of it. It's
Yeah,
fine.
that's why he I don't know where did he dig it out from, and I don't even know if it's still online. He's shocked right now. I can tell that Andrew Tate did not expect this topic to come out.
But
It's not funny, though, is
no,
it?
well, you know, it's like most of the times we discussed in our first interview with me. Things are taken out of context, short form, et cetera, et cetera. But all in all, you could say the same things about Christians. If you were to read the Old Testament and say, stick to the Old Testament, you'd kill anyone who works on a Sunday. So it's not applicable to
You
read the
wouldn't
books of the Bible.
countenance violence.
Say again?
You don't countenance violence.
I absolutely do not countenance violence. When I was talking about violence being the bottom line the bottom line decider between disagreeing points of view, it's not I'm calling for violence. I'm just making a commentary on how the world genuinely functions.
But when you use a word like satisfaction, you understand that people will watch that and think,
He's not
how
gonna
can you
let that go
possibly
now.
find any form of terrorism satisfying?
I don't find any form of terrorism satisfying. I don't find Western
No, he
terrorism.
doesn't find it satisfying. He said that the fact that someone is causing disturbance for a major force that was disturbing and destroying the world, he found that satisfying, you know, not the fact that there is a terrorist organization that's terrorizing the world in general. But actually, ISIS is terrorizing more Muslims than non-Muslims or the West in general. It's mainly targeted in the Middle East region and also in the North African region.
Satisfying either. I don't think it's satisfying that we managed to find $500,000 per bomb to drop on some farmer who makes $4 a day under the name of freedom.
Well, nor do I.
And we can't seem to pay our nurses enough to do their jobs. I don't find any kind of terrorism. And it's actually very interesting you talk about the word terrorism. Terrorist and freedom fighter, good guy and bad guy, all of this is subjective. There are people who believe that the West are the biggest terrorists on the earth. There are people who believe that America causes more wars than anyone else, and they've killed more people than anyone else. And there's people who believe the absolute opposite. So once again, it depends who you're talking to. It's a subjective conversation. There's no black and white in the world. There's areas of gray, and that's how it is. So I thought you were talking about another video where I was saying that ISIS is standing up and fighting for what they believe in. I'm not saying what they believe in is right, but that's what they were fighting for at the time. And it was a completely different video than the one you were actually referencing.
But you would condemn them now?
I don't condemn anybody doing anything bad to anybody. I'm not a person out here with a criminal record. I don't hurt anyone. I just spent my first segment on this show talking about how I believe in law and order and how important that is. I think people can operate inside of their lives safely and walk around, man, woman, child, can walk around in safety in any city they live in. How that law and order is constructed is not my jurisdiction. I'm not in charge of the law and order of Afghanistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Afghanistan, Kazakhstan, any of them.
I said, oh my God, there's a big fucking crack in the facade. I read the writing on the wall.